Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3, text number 28. Tattvavitu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matvana sajjate. Translation. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, Almighty Armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work and devotion and work for fruitive results. Purport. The knower of the absolute truth is convinced of his awkward position in material association. He knows that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and that his position should not be in the material creation. He knows his real identity as part and parcel of the Supreme, who is eternal, bliss, and knowledge. And he realizes that somehow or other he is entrapped in the material conception of life. In his pure state of existence, he is meant to dovetail his activities in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He therefore engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness and becomes naturally unattached to the activities of the material senses, which are all circumstantial and temporary. He knows that his material condition of life is under the supreme control of the Lord. Consequently, he is not disturbed by all kinds of material reactions, which he considers to be the mercy of the Lord. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, one who knows the absolute truth in 3 different phases, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Tattvavit, for he knows also his own factual position in relationship with the Supreme. Tattvavitu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matva nasajjate. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, Almighty Armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work and devotion and work for fruitive results. So basically, there are 2 different kinds of work that one can do in this world. One can perform work for the satisfaction of his own senses, or one can perform work for the satisfaction of the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Work for the satisfaction of one's own senses is called fruitive work, and work for the satisfaction of the senses of the Supreme is called devotional service. Now, although externally the work which is done to satisfy one's senses and the work which is done to satisfy the senses of the Supreme, although they may seem similar, there's a world of difference between them. The similarity is obvious. Just like here in our Govinda's restaurant, we are cooking. So we are taking vegetables and grains and ghee and milk and all these things. And we are preparing food and giving it to people. Now this may seem to be an ordinary work for sense gratification. Everybody comes, eats, and enjoys. Devotees do the same thing. They eat and enjoy it as well. So therefore it seems to be just some external material activity. Because there's no difference. The materialist at home is doing the same thing. Maybe not as expertly, but same basic thing is going on. Preparation of food for eating is going on. The difference, though, is not so obvious. The difference is that we are offering all of that food which we prepare to our deities here. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda appeared more than 500 years ago in West Bengal in India to bring the chanting of the holy name of Krishna to every town and village throughout this world. They are incarnations of Krishna and Balaram from the spiritual sky, the Supreme Lords themselves. So therefore, we offer our food to them, and they accept it. Pacham pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakti prayachati tadaham bhakti papritam ashnami prayatatma. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that if one offers him a fruit, a flower, a leaf, or some water with love, then he accepts that. The key to the offering is the love. After all, if you offer some insignificant thing to somebody without love, then they don't take it so seriously. But if you offer with love, then that same thing is taken very seriously. Just like there is one expert in romantic affairs. He stated that one lover once offered a garland to his beloved, but the garland was stained, garland of flowers, was stained with mud. But the beloved did not get upset with that, because she could understand the offering was done with love, and therefore she accepted. So that is true in the material world. It is even more true in the spiritual sky. Krishna accepts every offering if it is done with love. One example is, there was once one devotee who was so much absorbed in love of Godhead that he wanted to offer a banana to Krishna. So he peeled the banana, threw away the banana, and offered the peel. Because he was so much in ecstasy of love of Godhead, he couldn't distinguish anymore between the banana and the peel. He was confused. So he offered the peel, and Krishna accepted it, because it was done with love. For Krishna, what is the difference between the banana or the peel? Krishna doesn't need the banana, he doesn't need the peel. He doesn't need to eat. He's self-sufficient. He's Atmarama. He's perfect in himself. He's complete. Purnam. He doesn't need anything. But in order to accept the offerings of the devotee, he takes what the devotee wants to offer to him. Now, according to the devotee's particular qualifications, the devotee will offer to Krishna differently. A very rich person will offer a very magnificent thing to the Supreme Lord. A poor person will offer a less magnificent thing to the Supreme Lord. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you offer very opulently or not opulently, as long as you are offering according to your means with love. That means even a poor man has access to the Supreme Lord. Not only that, but a rich man also has access to the Supreme Lord. It is not that the Supreme Lord cuts off access by considering that whether you have money or you don't have money, that's a qualification or disqualification for surrendering unto Him. No, it's not. The Supreme Lord will accept all the offerings which are given to Him with love. And that's the whole qualification for serving the Supreme in devotion, is to somehow offer to Him in love something which you consider to be valuable. And Krishna will accept it. So that is devotion. And there's a difference between devotion and fruitive activities. Fruitive activities are done without considering actually the sense enjoyment of the Supreme, but rather are meant for considering the enjoyment of the offerer. It's like people may give in charity, but usually they have a motivation there. For example, they get a tax break. In some countries, I don't know about Sweden, if you give charity to some particularly qualified organizations, you can deduct that from your taxes. Is that in Sweden? You don't know? No. Anyway, in America it's like that. In India it's like that too. If you give something, so people, they give in charity for a tax break. Or they give in charity in order to be known as very pious people. In their community, everybody accepts them as very pious people, and they become famous. Or, in India especially, because they know about karma, they know about this law of action and reaction, so they think, let me give in charity now to somebody who is very deserving. I will get good karma from that, and next lifetime I will get results beyond my expectations. It's like if you give charity to a brahmana or a very religious person, you will get that charity back next lifetime multiple times. But if you give charity to a Vaishnava, you will get back that charity next lifetime unlimited times, many thousands of times. Therefore, people, when they give charity, they think, this is money in the future bank. I give charity now to this person, next lifetime I will get very much return. And in this way, they like to give charity. They like to do religious activities for the future results. So it is like business. In the business, you give money to your employees to keep them happy so that they will go on working for you. You invest money in new products so that in the future you can sell more. Investment, it's called. You invest now for future gains. It's business. Similarly, in the fruitive activities, people give charity now to get back multiple gains in the future by going to the heavenly planets, Swagaloka, by getting enormous wealth in their future lifetimes. It's like Srila Prabhupada once explained about John Lennon, explained to John Lennon, that he had a dream that John Lennon in the previous life was a very pious person in Calcutta who was giving charity to religious people. Therefore, in this lifetime, he got unlimited wealth. So it's just like, it's a business. It doesn't mean you're spiritual by giving charity. No. In any case, that's fruitive activity. However, devotional activity is different than fruitive activity. Devotional activity means you give only for the sake of the satisfaction of the recipient. You're not thinking about what you're going to get out of it. The devotees of the Lord give to Krishna without thinking about what they're going to get. They only think about what Krishna's getting, what Krishna will enjoy. That's all they think about. They give without any expectation of return. If they have any expectation, it is that the Lord will be satisfied. That is the only expectation. They're only concerned that Krishna will be satisfied. That's all they ask. It's like I was reading 2 nights ago about a very wonderful group of devotees called the Prachetas, who had been performing austerities under the water for 10,000 years. They lived in the Satya Yuga, where people lived for 100,000 years. So it was not unusual that a person would take 10,000 out. It's just like if you take for 10 years now, if you did austerities for the sake of spiritual advancement. So the Prachetas, they wanted to satisfy the Lord. And the Lord was very satisfied with their activities, so he appeared before them. And in their very wonderful prayers to the Lord, when the Lord asked them to please take a benediction, he was ready to give them a benediction. So whatever they wanted, they could ask for. Because the Lord is the giver of benedictions when he is pleased upon someone. The Prachetas said, the only benediction we want is that you will be satisfied with us. Because if you are satisfied with us, there's nothing we cannot attain. And yet, the only thing we want to attain is your satisfaction. They also said the whole purpose of their lives was to engage themselves in the devotional service of the Supreme. That's all they cared about. They just wanted to worship the Lord in devotional service. What is devotional service? It means you use your senses in the service of the master of senses, Krishna. What are your senses? Well, for example, just like now, I am using my tongue, the sense of speech, in the service of Krishna by speaking about Krishna. And you, the hearers, are using your ears in the service of Krishna by listening. So this is devotional service. We are serving the Supreme by hearing and chanting about the Supreme, specifically by talking about Bhagavad Gita and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Later on, after this lecture is over, you will also be able to perform devotional service with your tongue by eating. The tongue has 2 functions, which are very favorite of the living entities. The first function we've spoken about is to speak. Everybody likes to speak. So the tongue is very much eager to speak all the time. And the tongue likes to eat. Eating and speaking are the 2 favorite activities of the tongue. And yet, when you speak about Krishna and eat Krishna prasadam, you use the tongue in devotional service. And that tongue then becomes the key to development of the spiritual life. There is a verse also which speaks about that. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Nava Vagrayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhi Jiva Dos Vayam Evas Pratyadaha. That the tongue begins the spiritual life, because otherwise, by ordinary sense perception, you cannot realize the Supreme. By ordinary sense perception. You cannot see Him with the eyes, for instance. It's not possible. But if you use your tongue in devotional service, then gradually you can realize the Supreme. How to use the tongue? By hearing, chanting, and eating Krishna Prasad. Jiva, the tongue is called jiva. By using the tongue for hearing, chanting, no, you don't use the tongue for hearing, for chanting and eating Krishna Prasad, then you can advance in spiritual life. This is devotional service. You use the senses in the service of the master of the senses, Krishna. You can also use your eyes in the service of Krishna by seeing the beautiful deity forms in the Lord in the temple, or by reading Bhagavad Gita, or Srimad Bhagavatam, these other Vedic literatures. Sometimes you can watch TV also and see a Krishna conscious show. I think we have TV here in Stockholm also. Yes? Or you can watch a video from our ISKCON TV in Los Angeles. Or see a video of Srila Prabhupada, a rare opportunity. So, one can use the eyes in devotional service. One can use the legs in devotional service and the arms by doing something practical. Just like I remember when I first joined this Krishna consciousness movement, I used to wash the pots. It was a very, very blissful activity. I remember it very clearly, washing the pots and scrubbing those pots very nicely so that you could see your reflection in the bottom of the pot. Washing a pot is not a very blissful activity. I'm sure if I offered anyone in this room the job of a pot washer, you would think this is a very lowly job. We do not do such jobs. But here I was, college graduate, school teacher, now coming to Krishna consciousness and washing pots. And you know, I liked it. And I didn't want to do anything else than wash those pots. That's because when you wash Krishna's pot, it's very blissful. You get a taste because you're doing something with your body for the service of the Supreme, and it's blissful because you're rendering service to Krishna. It's blissful. Just like when we chant Hare Krishna, it gives us a taste of blissfulness. Why? Because we're using the senses in the service of Krishna. We're hearing and chanting His holy name. This awakens us from within. It's a blissful activity. Krishna consciousness brings bliss. Therefore, we'll do it. Once Srila Prabhupada asked all of us in Bombay, we were sitting there in front of him, and he was sitting on his Vyasasana, and he asked us, "Why are you in Krishna consciousness?" And we gave so many philosophical reasons. He said no to all of them. Finally, somebody said, "Well, because I like it." Prabhupada said, "Yes, that's right. The real reason why we're in Krishna consciousness is because we like it." Then, after a while, there are many philosophical reasons also as well why we are in Krishna consciousness. And if someday we wake up in the morning and we don't like it because we got up on the wrong side of bed, then at least we can understand why Krishna consciousness is very important to do, as it is stated here. The devotee is convinced. Here, I'll just read the beginning of the purport again because it's very relevant to this point. The knower of the absolute truth is convinced of his awkward position in material association. The first thing, he knows his position in the material nature is very awkward. It is very flickering. At any moment, he can be destroyed in this material world. We are not guaranteed any duration of life here in this material world. At any moment, we can come to an end. So therefore, the first thing is that we are aware of this position in the material world, that it is very awkward. We are aware of that. Then, he knows that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and that his position should not be in the material creation. He knows his real identity as part and parcel of the Supreme, who is eternal bliss and knowledge. And he realizes that somehow or other he is entrapped in the material conception of life. So those who are in Krishna consciousness, they know that this material world is not their real home. They know it is a temporary place full of suffering conditions. Dukkalayam ashashvatam. It's a suffering place and it's temporary. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And that we all have experience of. Even though we are engaged in so many activities for sense gratification, fruitive results, we are growing older every day. And it's just going by faster and faster and faster. The hair is getting grayer as days go by. And pretty soon, body starts to disturb you in so many ways because of old age. Old age will come to all of us. I remember people used to think about 25 years ago that Krishna consciousness was mainly for young people. Yes, it was. But nowadays, those same young people are no longer young people anymore. So there's a lot of middle-aged folk running around this ISKCON movement. Pretty soon, sooner than we want, there'll be a lot of old people too. And they'll also be fully engaged in the Krishna consciousness activities of devotional service. Because that's the only way to transcend even old age. You can transcend old age. Prabhupada said that a person in Krishna consciousness can work with full energy like a young man, even in his 70s and 80s. And Prabhupada was the proof of that. I remember Srila Prabhupada when he was 80 years old on his morning walk. And at that time, I was something like 25 or 26 or 27, I don't remember exactly. And Prabhupada was walking very quickly on the beach, or wherever he was walking. He used to walk very swiftly. And I, a young man, carrying a tape recorder to record him, was having a hard time keeping up with him. And after that morning walk, I was exhausted. And Prabhupada didn't have the slightest problem. I remember he would fly from North America to Europe and pick up his schedule as if he never left North America. No jet lag whatsoever. It was incredible. And he was the living proof that anybody who is Krishna conscious can work like a young man even in the old age. Ordinarily in old age we get embarrassed by a reduction of our energy. But a Krishna conscious person is not embarrassed in that way because he has not wasted his energy in material sense gratification. He has conserved his energy by using it only in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he was perfected. Therefore, we request everybody to use all your energy, or at least some of it, in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. And by using that energy in the service of the Supreme, you will be satisfied and ultimately gain the greatest destination in the next lifetime if you must take birth again, or you can go back home, back to Godhead if you have achieved that platform of purification. So try to become Krishna conscious. Try to surrender unto Krishna. And in this way, gradually transform the life to a spiritual life, to an existence beyond this material existence of embarrassed, awkward material conditions, and be happy in devotional service to Krishna in absolute knowledge and absolute bliss. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions out there today about any of these points? Be glad to answer. Everybody convinced? Great! You can all move into the temple tonight. We will take care of you. For the ladies, we will supply saris. For the men, we will supply haircuts. You will get plenty to eat, don't worry. Nice association, good activities. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.